Okay, I tried to stay out of this. I wanted to stay out of this. I do not like doing political videos on these channels because, well, they just tend to cause fights. But I really cannot shut up about this anymore. The state of Wisconsin has a budget repair bill in the works right now. Now, what this is supposed... Now, I'm sure people have heard about this. And I'm sure you've all heard about what it's supposed to mean. Takes away their right to collectively bargain, makes them pay in exorbitant amounts, cuts their salaries, cuts their jobs, cuts everything, destroys the planet, rips a hole in the universe, and everything will die if this passes. Or, something along those lines in various media outlets. Now, I'm going to have to address this because there is so much misinformation flying around there. It borders on asinine to complete and utter disgusting lie. Now, first and foremost, let's tackle what this bill actually says, shall we? This bill requires this, that all public sector unions pay in an additional 5% on their pension, whereas now they pay 0.2%, and an extra 8% on their health care premium, which would raise the total that they pay in to 12.7%. Now, here's what they don't tell you. First and foremost, that is still well below the national average for what even unions pay in. Second of all, they will still have the second lowest percentage rate to pay in the Midwest. Very low percentage rate. Third of all, don't even try to compare it to the private sector. What the private sector pays in for those pales in comparison. This is a sweetheart of a deal. In fact, there are unions in other states that took pay cuts, that took pension increases, took health care increases. And they accepted it because they knew their state was in economic trouble and they moved on. Now, see, here's the thing. The state of Wisconsin's in some pretty bad trouble. And there's some lies around that, too, and we're going to get to that. So what happened was the governor decided, okay, we need to do this. And basically, by doing this, he made it so that they didn't have to lay off 6,000 employees. Excuse me. That's right. 6,000 jobs are being saved by doing this. Now, here's the thing. Every one of those people in that Capitol sitting there whining, throwing a fit, spazzing about this, are they going to care if they're one of these 6,000? Do they seriously think that if you're one of the 6,000 that gets laid off by this, but your buddies over there get to keep all their bennies and keep their, keep the levels, keep everything, then they're not affected at all? You really think they'll give two craps? No, they'll say, oh well, so sad, too bad, good luck finding another job, and they'll get on with their life. Whereas you will be out of work, and we will be missing staffers in several areas. I'd really rather not have 6,000 jobs not filled. That is bad. See, what happens here is that 6,000 unfilled jobs. I know that a lot of people like to say, yeah, sure, you can go ahead and fill them. There are 6,000 people unemployed. Problem is, with those rates, it still doesn't fix the problem. So filling up those jobs is just going to put us right back in the same boat. They're going to have to go unfilled. And then you will have bigger class sizes. Then you will have fewer teachers. Then you will have fewer people working in the public sector. Now, another thing that this bill does, when they say it tries to strip away collective bargaining rights. No, it does not. They can still collectively bargain on salaries. Salaries. Their benefits, however, are non-negotiable. This is a fixed rate, meaning that it's not going to get suddenly spiked on you either. But this is not negotiable. The state has to be able to manage its finances, and it can't be put into a deadlock with the union every time it has to make an adjustment. Now, when it comes to your overall pay, you can argue about that all you want. However, it is going to be capped based on Consumer Price Index. However, on top of that, it will adjust with inflation. Meaning inflation goes up, your pay goes up. Yeah. Now, I can understand how some people might think that this is some sort of fundamental right or whatever, and it's really not. A union is a privileged group. It's a privilege. This is not a fundamental right. People who aren't union don't get this, and you guys know it. Non-union people don't collectively bargain in the way that you guys do, and you know that. So to say that this is something everyone else enjoys and he's only taking it away from you is a myth. Now, to move on, some people say that because this exempts firefighter and police unions, understandably so, because they have a much more high-risk job, that he's paying back his friends because they endorsed him in the election. Actually, no. 314 individual police and firefighter unions in the state of Wisconsin. 4 endorsed the governor. The rest all endorsed his opponent. So to say that that's a political kickback is perhaps the most disgusting misrepresentation of fact I have seen in a long time. Now, moving on, clipping right along here. Another thing that this is actually going to end. First of all, layoffs, bye-bye. They're off the picture. They're out of the picture completely. It's in the bill. Also, mandatory furloughs. Time that you are mandated to take away from your job, no pay. You got to take it off. That's going to go bye-bye. So you're going to get to work that extra time and get paid for it. Now, to be perfectly honest, this is where not necessarily the union members, but definitely the union bosses are mad. And this is probably the main reason they're really supporting this bill. See, when you join the public sector, the public, employment area, you sign a contract with the state that actually says you have to join a public service union. You're mandated to join. I've had several people try to tell me that's bullcrap, you're not mandated to join, blah, blah, blah. Except their loophole is that somehow they can take union dues away from you. You get all the union benefits. You even get a card, but you're not a member. It makes so much sense. Bill makes it so that you are no longer mandated to join a union. You can opt out, meaning all that money that goes towards your dues, which is on average $500-600 a month, you keep. You spend it on what you want, on what you need. That's going to save people an extra $600 a month who don't think they need to be in the union. Also means that all union contracts have to come up for a vote every year. So if you think that your union isn't serving you, isn't serving your interests anymore, you can eliminate it. You can tell it to get out. And similarly, if you think you need it back, you can vote it back in. It's quite simple. In fact, it actually takes the power away from the union bosses and gives it back to the union members. This is empowering you union members. Why aren't you seeing that? Now, another thing that people love to say, and I mean love to say, is that Wisconsin is not in any sort of fiscal crisis. It's all engineered by the governor as a means of using this to crush unions. Now, this is just plain ridiculous. First and foremost, I'm going to provide you a link that is going to show you, as recently as June 2010, we had a budget of $2.8 million. A budget deficit of $2.8 million. Now, are you people seriously going to believe that somehow we took a $2.8 billion deficit and turned it into a $100 million surplus in less than 1 year? No, we didn't. Granted, to his credit, the Democrat governor, just before leaving, did make cuts. He, however, did not make enough. And in places where he did lower taxes to ease this, he raised them here to make up for it. So it kind of offset itself. It wasn't really that much of a difference. No lying that it did help, but not enough. So we're going to pick up the slack. We have to. We're going broke. Now, I know what people are going to say. There was, they wrote about it in the Washington Post. They wrote about it here and there, and it's all because of this memo from someone in a nonpartisan financial institution. I'm going to give you a PolitiFact article. Took an objective look at this, and it's false. It's not because anyone lied either. It's just a mistake. They're misinterpreting this memo, because if you go on to read it, it does say that yes, this would happen. This is how much we're scheduled to make. But it's gross. It's not net. Because then it also cites unpaid bills, unmet financial obligations that definitely offset that. So we're still in the red. We are still in a budget crisis. We're still going to finish in the red if we don't do something. Now, what this is going to do is save us $30 million fairly quickly. $300 million over the next 2 years. Sounds like a ton, right? Well, we got a ton of public service workers. I'm going to link you both those articles. The Wisconsin State Journal article. Yes, State Journal, our state newspaper. Frankly, very liberal-leaning, very pro-union. The irony is that linked to it at the bottom of the page is the link to their version of Walker's faking our deficit in an article where they talk about our deficit. Isn't that nice? How's that for spin? Anyway. Now, another thing that I want you to know is that people are going to say that he might have been doing this for a long time. Walker was not inaugurated as our governor until this year. This was from June 2010, when they were still campaigning. Walker was a candidate. He had absolutely no power over state record. In fact, the Democrats did. They had Assembly, Senate, Governor. So, anyway, not the point though. And then, I mean, for crying out loud though, I've seen this get so ridiculous. They're talking that this is going to make food prices skyrocket. Homes going to be foreclosed. People are going to be losing their jobs. People are going to be going hungry. This is going to cause widespread unemployment. What part of prevents layoffs don't you understand? It's the language in the bill. 6,000 people are going to be laid off if this doesn't pass. Union workers, public sector union workers, you are being empowered by this bill. This is giving your vote more authority. This is giving your decision weight over your bosses. Your bosses, the union, is going to serve you again. They are not going to serve their own interests. They are not going to be able to just dip into your paycheck whenever they want, then say you owe us dues, and then not provide any sort of adequate service for what you're paying in. I know they like to say you wouldn't have these benefits and you wouldn't have this. And I know they like to say that you know, if it wasn't for us, you'd still be working. That's all fine and good. Back then, you were needed. You were. But you know what? Frankly, you're nowhere near as needed as you used to be. Especially with Wisconsin state statutes on workers. It's got some of the strongest in the country. The workers are safe. I'm sorry. These things that you prevented so long ago, they're gone permanently. They can't come back. And I'm sorry, but I really don't call you guys throwing a protest a couple of years back to get Viagra for teachers in the Milwaukee area paid for by us, the taxpayers, to be, a legitimate reason for you to exist. I'm sorry. What this is going to make you unions do is prove your worth to your members. Give them a reason to join you. Give them a reason to keep you around. And you're scared of that. Admit it. You're afraid of competition. As for you private sector unions, you're not touched. This doesn't apply to you at all. So, don't freak. I mean, seriously, people keep focusing on one word, union. They want you to laser focus on that. There's just one problem. Adjectives. Okay, there are adjectives over here. Public sector unions. Public service unions. These are the key. They qualify this. It's not unions. It's public service unions. Now again, I'm so sorry that I even had to do this. I am. But this is just getting freaking ridiculous. the level to which you people are going, threatening the man's family, going to his home, storming his home when his kids are the only ones there. Police have to show up and block off the street. Placards with bullseyes on the man's forehead, calling him a dictator, daring to compare yourself to the people in Egypt who overthrew a genuine dictator. And referring to the democratically elected, duly elected governor of the state of Wisconsin as a dictator because he's doing something you don't like is petty, childish, and disgusting on so many levels. Relevant links down there. Click them. I'm out.